माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद श्रील प्रभुपाद की श्री रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश की निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, dear devotees, for kindly assembling here today. It's the evening program, and I am very thankful to the wonderful devotees who are managing Shri Shri Rukmini Dwarkadhish Mandir here in Los Angeles, and my thanks to all the wonderful devotees who have assembled here kindly today. Before I begin speaking something, it is important to give thanks to the audience. The audience is very important in the success of any particular talk. So all of you are here present today as the audience. I am very, very thankful to you for kindly giving me your time. And time is something which once you give, you cannot get it back. So those of you who will stay for the next 1 hour, that's 1 hour of your life you'll never get back. But you've kindly decided to give it to me. I'm very thankful to you for kindly giving me a non-renewable resource of your life, dear devotees. So thank you very much for kindly being present here today. My thanks to Swavash Prabhu for kindly organizing these series of talks. And my thanks also to my friends Param Karuna Prabhu, also to Nandini Radha Mataji for kindly organizing these talks. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you, Prabhu. Before we begin, we will chant Mangala Charan or auspicious invocation verses. Our topic today is Japa, Kirtan and Smaran. So before we begin, I'll chant auspicious invocation verses. Most of us know these verses. You can kindly sing along with me. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namah He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai Thai Gaur Premanande Hare Hare. So dear devotees, before I begin speaking, I would also like to thank Shyamachandra Prabhu. Thank you Prabhuji for kindly organizing so many details of right from where I stay and helping me with all the technical aspects. Thank you so much Prabhuji for everything. Dear devotees, today's is a very important topic. These are three aspects which are very important or fundamental to our spiritual life, and I would like to discuss on these three aspects which are very fundamental to our spiritual life: Japa, kirtan and smaran. The topic sounds simple, but there are a lot of details to these three aspects, and frankly speaking, giving 1 hour to such a presentation is not a justice to these three topics, because entire books have been written on Japa, kirtan and smaran. But before I begin, I would like to ask a question. Prabhuji, how is Japa translated in English? No, Japa, the activity, chanting. How is kirtan translated? But usually kirtan is translated as chanting. Both Japa and kirtan, they are translated as chanting. So when we speak the English term chanting, sometimes it becomes difficult to understand whether we are referring to Japa or we are referring to kirtan. So therefore, it's important to see that these two terms have some similarities and some differences. And we will see what are the similarities, what are the differences between Japa, kirtan, and we will also see what is smaran. But before we begin, I would like to begin with a statement by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So, Shyamachandra Prabhu, do you have a mic? Extra mic. Or maybe you can read the first statement, Prabhu, loudly, and then later you can... Do you have a mic? Okay. So I'd like to begin with a statement by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada says something in his introduction to Bhagavad Gita, which is important. Yes, Prabhu, can you kindly read what is there on the screen?
Krishna and Krishna's names are non-different. In the absolute status, there is no difference between reference and referent. Therefore, we have to practice remembering the Lord always, 24 hours a day, by chanting His names and molding our lives' activities in such a way that we can remember Him always.
So, dear devotees, it's very important that Srila Prabhupada says we should mold our lives in such a way that we can remember Him always. Remembrance in Sanskrit is smaran. The general meaning in Sanskrit is smaran. The name of our society has been centered around smaran, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The consciousness Basically, the function of consciousness is smaran or remembrance of Krishna. So we have to explore these three aspects of our spiritual life: Japa, kirtan and smaran. So dear devotees, let us begin exploring these three aspects of our bhajan or our devotional service: Japa, kirtan and smaran. And for that, dear devotees, let us first define what is Japa. So dear devotees, I would like to invite some definition of Japa. How do we define Japa? Can anybody try to give an answer? Yes, Prabhuji. Okay. Chanting sacred mantras on beads, very well, okay.
Praying.
Huh?
Pray.
Praying, okay. Okay. Moving the beads while chanting, okay, that is Japa. So, all of these definitions are good and they are covering certain aspects of the definition which our acharyas have given for Japa. Dear devotees, how many of us would like to see the definition of Japa as it was given by our previous acharyas? Would you like to see the definition given by our previous acharyas? Yes, so it's very important to see the definition that is all acceptable in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Srila Rupa Goswami defines Japa in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is Srila Rupa Goswami's definition of Japa as it is given in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. These are his exact words as it is. I will chant, please repeat after me. Mantrasya sulaghucharo Japa ityabhidhiyate. So mantrasya, for any mantra, su laghu uchchara. Does anybody know what is the meaning of uchchara? Utterance or pronunciation. Laghu uchchara means soft utterance. Su laghu uchchara means super soft utterance of a mantra is known as Japa. So here is the translation, dear devotees. Sri Rupa Goswami says, super soft utterance, su laghu uchchara of a mantra is known as Japa. Amongst the 64 limbs of devotional service, Japa is limb number 34. So it is one of the 64 limbs of devotional service that Srila Rupa Goswami has defined in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Now, some of us might be thinking, we have also heard that Japa should be chanted loudly. How many of us have heard that Japa should also be chanted loudly? Please raise your hands. Yes. So we have heard that Japa should also be chanted loudly. But Srila Rupa Goswami is saying, super soft utterance, su laghu uchcharaha, of any mantra is known as Japa. Now, we will keep this doubt in our mind, we will revisit this doubt. But there is also another definition of Japa given by another Acharya in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This definition is not quoted so frequently. But since this definition also came from an Acharya within our Sampradaya, I wanted to include this definition also. So there is another definition of Japa. This definition was given by Sri Dhyan Chandra Goswami, who has written Gaur Govinda Archan Smaran Paddhati. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur quotes many times Sri Dhyan Chandra Goswami in his works. So the second definition is by Sri Dhyan Chandra Goswami and a very nice definition given by him. Kindly repeat after me. Mano madhye sthito mantro mantra madhye sthitam manah mano mantra samayuktam etadhi japalakshanam. Mano madhye sthito mantro. The mantras should be situated in the mind. Mantra madhye sthitam manah. And the mind should be situated in the mantra. So the mantra situated in the mind and the mind situated in the mantra. Mano mantra samayuktam. In this way, this seamless combination of the mind and mantra. Etadhi japalakshanam. This is indeed the characteristic of ideal japa. So, here is the translation. Shamchandra Prabhu, can you kindly read the translation?
The mantra firmly situated in the mind firmly situated in the mantra. Such a seamless connection of the mind and mantra is characteristic of ideal japa.
So, dear devotees, this is a very important definition, because this definition very clearly highlights that there is one sense organ that is important in chanting of japa. Which sense organ is important, dear devotees? Mind. It's very important. Many times we tell devotees that Srila Prabhupada used to say, when you are chanting japa, just chant and hear. Very simple. We often tell devotees that Prabhupada always said, just chant and hear. But there is some detail which we are missing out when we say like this. There is one detail which we are missing out. And what is that detail? That detail is specified by Srila Prabhupada himself in one of the talks. So I will specify this talk by Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada himself says something. So Prabhu, I'll speak the words that the devotees are speaking, and you speak the replies that Srila Prabhupada is giving. Alright? Devotee says, Prabhupada, when we first got to chant Hare Krishna, a way to concentrate is to just concentrate on the vibration. Should we try to strive for?
No, concentrate on the vibration. Simply hear. It is very easy. If I say Hare, you can hear, even without concentration. It is so easy.
But
if you hear attentively, that is required.
So it's very important. There is a term which Srila Prabhupada put besides chant and hear. Which term did Prabhupada add? Attentively. So it is very important to mention this when we are telling devotees that simply chant and hear. So an adverb should be added to chant and hear. Chant and hear in which manner? Attentively. By adding attentively, a sense organ is automatically added. Which sense organ is added? Mind. Now, that previous definition that we saw and what Prabhupada is describing, they fall in a single line, dear devotees. This is called ekvakyata, single line of thought between the previous acharyas and Srila Prabhupada. So once this ekvakyata or single line of thought is established between Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas, then we are confident that our understanding is 100% bona fide. So the most important sense organ that is needed for chanting japa is the mind. The mind should be aligned. If we see, there are actually three senses that are required for ideal japa. And ideal japa stands on the tripod of these three senses. Dear devotees, the first sense is the mouth, second is the ears, and third is the mind. Now, if any one of these limbs is missing, then we may not be able to perform japa as the Shastra tells us to perform japa. Mouth we require to chant. Ears we require to hear. But most importantly, to hear attentively, we require a third sense organ, that is the mind. See, there may be many vehicles passing on the street outside our home, and we hear the sound of those vehicles. Don't we hear the sound of many vehicles? But do we hear attentively? No. See, vehicle pass. Krishna giving some indication. So, many vehicles pass, but we are not able to identify which vehicle it is because we don't hear attentively. So, it's important to not only hear but also hear attentively, and that is proven here. Now, these three limbs which I specified, they have not come from my mental speculation. I did not make this diagram because one day I thought, okay, I will make a diagram and I will put these three limbs. These three limbs have come from the previous acharyas, and I will specify where they have come from. Because whenever we speak something, it's important to give praman, to give some solid backing to what we are saying. Otherwise, without speaking from a proper source, it just becomes our own mental speculation. In Hindi we say, Baba Vakyam Pramanam. Babaji said, so it is Praman. So we are not from that sampradaya which says Baba Vakyam Pramanam. That anything any Babaji said, it becomes Praman. No, it has Shastra Vakyam Pramanam. Shastra is what is praman for us. So, our previous acharyas, Srila Rupa Goswami, he wrote a wonderful glorification of the holy name, unparalleled glorification of the holy name. I would like to specify this glorification. There is something hidden in the glorification. There are many details, but today we will try to explore this glorification of Sri Rupa Goswami that he gave about the holy name. This glorification is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, also in the Padyavali. Originally in the Padyavali, and from the Padyavali it came in the Chaitanya Charitamritam. This is the glorification of holy name that Sri Rupa Goswami has given. A common verse, but we will try to see the various aspects of this verse today. This verse is in the meter Shardul Vikriditam, same as Shad Goswami Ashtakam. I will try to sing, kindly repeat after me. Tunde tandaviniiratim vitanute tundavali labdhaye. कर्णक्रोडकडम्बिनी घटयते कर्णार्बुदेभ्यः स्पृहाम् चेतप्राङ्गणसङ्गिनी विजयते सर्वेन्द्रियाणां कृतिम् नो जाने जनिता कि यद्भिरमृतैः कृष्णेति वर्णद्वयी। When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this glorification of Krishna Nam, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, there is no such glorification that I have heard till now. Unparalleled glorification of Sri Krishna's names. Dear devotees, when I have to translate the verse, I have to break open the secret for you. Otherwise, Srila Rupa Goswami has hidden the secret till the end of the fourth line. First three lines are glorification, and we don't know who is being glorified. At the very end, Sri Rupa Goswami reveals the secret. Who is being glorified? Krishna iti varnadvai. So till the very end, the secret is not given out. But since I have to translate, therefore I have to first give out the secret. Otherwise you will think, whom is he glorifying? So, Krishna iti varna dvai, the two-syllabled lady, dvai, feminine gender, the two-syllabled lady. What are the two syllables? Krishna. So, Krish and Na are the two syllables, and these two syllables have taken the form of a beautiful lady, varna dvai. Now Sri Rupa Goswami says, how glorious is this bi-syllable lady named Krishna. Please explain her glories. So Sri Rupa Goswami starts explaining. Tunde tandavini ratim vitanute. Tunde, when this lady enters into the mouth, Tunda, tandavini ratim, she dances and distributes ratim, Lord of joy. Now question is, in the courtyard of the mouth, who is there to receive this joy? Is there anybody sitting in the courtyard of the mouth? Tongue is the platform on which she is dancing. Okay, Krishna. There is a hidden indication here. Commentators say there are 32 dvijas sitting in the mouth. What is the meaning of dvija, dear devotees? Twice born. The teeth take birth how many times? Twice. So, dvija is another name for teeth, dear devotees. In the assembly of 32 dvijas, if you have a perfect pair, the holy name enters into the courtyard of mouth and distributes rati. It fulfills the purpose of existence of those dvijas. And she distributes Lord of joy. But when a dancer distributes joy, at the end of a dance performance, a dancer wants something in return. Traditionally, when dancers would dance, at the end of the performance, they would be given some prize. Now, what does this bi-syllable lady want? So, Sri Rupa Goswami says, Tundavali labdaye. The only prize that she wants is Prize, not Price. The prize that she wants for this beautiful dancing is Tundavali Labdhaye. Give me more mouths to dance. Many more mouths to dance. Now, this is when the lady enters the mouth. Now, Karna Kroda, when this lady enters into the ear holes, Kadambini Ghatayate, she starts taking over the ears like Kadambini. Kadambini is Kadambi Shak. In English, it is known as water spinach. How many of us have seen water spinach? Yes, you have seen water spinach. Prabhu, can you tell us the nature of water spinach in one sentence? It's a curly shaped leaf. Okay. For those of you who have not seen, don't worry, we have PowerPoint today, dear devotees. So, PowerPoint will take care of that. But very nice. Curly shaped leaf. But one characteristic of water spinach is it grows so rapidly. If you give it a little bit of area to grow, it will quickly occupy that area. And then what does water spinach want? What does it desire? More space for growth. So Karna Kroda Kadambini Ghatete. As soon as it enters the ears, it takes over the ears like water spinach. And what does water spinach want? More space. So what does she desire? Karnarbudebhyas priyam. Millions of ears she desires in order to expand more and more. Chetaha Prangana. Finally, when she enters the courtyard of the mind, Sangini, she becomes the companion of the soul. Sangini is literally means the wedded companion. Now, when a lady enters into a particular house as the wife, she takes over all the functions of the house. Those who are married, they will know. As soon as a lady, she comes in a house as the married lady of the house, she takes over all the functions of the house. The house is hers. The house doesn't belong to the man, dear devotees. The house belongs to the lady. According to Vedic literature, the house doesn't belong to the man. Na griham griham ityahur grihini griham uchyate. It's the lady who defines the house. So as soon as she enters into the courtyard of the mind, she takes over the mind, and the mind is the controller of all the senses. So she takes over the activity of all the senses. Now Sri Rupa Goswami says, no jane, I don't know. Janita kiyat bhir amrite. How many varieties of nectar went into the formation of these two syllables? What are the two syllables, dear devotees? Krishna. So this is the translation. Prabhuji, kindly read the translation.
When the bisyllable name Krishna enters the mouth, it dances around and desires many more mouths as its reward. On entering the ear holes, it sprouts like the Kadambi Shaka, water spinach, and exhibits a desire for tens of millions of years. Finally, when it enters the courtyard of the mind, it becomes the faithful companion of the soul and takes over the activities of all other senses. I do not know how many varieties of nectar have gone into the formation of this bisyllable name.
Alright. So dear devotees, I would like you to notice something. What is the first word of the first line? Tunde. What does Tunde mean? Mouth. What is the first word of the second line? What does Karna mean? What is the first word of the third line? What does Cheta mean? Mind. So these three limbs were mentioned right in the verse by Srila Rupa Goswami himself. The holy name connects with these three limbs, dear devotees. Tunde, mouth; Karna, ears; Chetaha, mind. All three should be in alignment in order to chant the names properly. Now, for those of you who have not seen water spinach, dear devotees, here is water spinach. You were correct, Prabhu, it has curly leaves, but you can see how rapidly it grows. Has it left any space for further growth? No. Now the water spinach desires something. What does it desire? More space. So as soon as it gets more space, it will multiply. So that is what Sri Rupa, Kadambi Shak, water spinach. As soon as it enters into the ear holes, it sprouts like the Kadambi Shak. That is what Sri Rupa Goswami had said. Alright. So dear devotees, this is what ideal japa is. Three limbs should be in alignment. Now, not all japa is created the same. According to Acharyas, Japa is categorized into 3 types. I will specify these 3 types and I will define these 3 types of Japa. According to the Hari Bhakti Vilas, Japa is categorized into 3 types. The first type, please repeat after me, Vachika Japa. Vachika is loud audible Japa. Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami says, in this Japa, the mouth moves clearly, the tongue also moves clearly, and you make a sound loud enough so that a second person can hear. Alright, this type of Japa is known as which Japa? Vachika Japa. For example, let me chant so that you can hear. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. My mouth was moving, my tongue was moving. You could hear, Prabhu, right? Everybody could hear. This is known as which Japa? Vachika Japa. First type of Japa. Alright. Second type of Japa, please repeat after me. Upamshu Japa. Now what is Upamshu Japa? In Upamshu Japa, Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami says, the lips move very little. The tongue also moves slightly. One pronounces loud enough only so that one can hear oneself. A second person should not be able to hear. This type of Japa is known as which Japa, dear devotees? Upamshu Japa. Now I will try to chant Upamshu, but you will be able to hear it on the mic. But if I would have chanted without the mic, you would not be able to hear. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. This sort of Japa, if done without the mic, a second person will not be able to hear. But all syllables should be pronounced clearly. This is known as which Japa, dear devotees? Upamshu Japa. Now there is a third type of Japa. Please repeat after me. Manasika Japa. Manasika is mental. In mental Japa, you don't have to open the mouth at all. The mouth doesn't move at all. The tongue inside also doesn't move at all. Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami says the devotee closes their eyes and uses the mind to utter the mantra. And when the mind is uttering the mantra, the syllables of the mantra are visualized in front of the closed eyes. This is known as which Japa, dear devotees? Manasik Japa. Now what I will do is, let's chant one mantra in this type of Japa. I will chant on the mic. Ideally, even I am not supposed to chant. You are supposed to chant in your mind. I will chant on the mic, you don't have to say anything. In your mind, you have to visualize the syllables of the mantra. Alright? So let's begin. Let's do one mantra like this. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So dear devotees, this is known as, if I would not have chanted and you would have done this in your mind, it would be known as which Japa? Manasik. Did you notice something in Manasik Japa? The mind was fully focused. We did not allow the mind to escape. The mind was focused in visualizing the syllables of the Mahamantra. Many times in India, people say, oh, I am chanting 24 hours in my mind, so I don't need to chant externally. But they don't understand what is the exact definition of mental chanting. Mental chanting is the one which requires the greatest amount of effort. Because you have to sit in one place, close your eyes and visualize the syllables of the mantra as you are chanting the mantra. This is Manasik Japa. Now question arises, we have heard about the first two types of chanting in our society, ISKCON, Vachika and Upamshu. But do we ever perform Manasik Japa? So the answer is not with Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but with second initiation mantras. Do we chant second initiation mantras loudly or silently? Silently. So Manasik has its place within our society, but not for chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Manasik has its place in our society for chanting mantras which we have received in second initiation from the Guru. Can we not chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra in the Manasik style? Somebody can chant if they have permission from the Guru. But to chant 16 rounds like this will take the entire day, dear devotees. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada recommended that one should chant it either in the Vachik manner or in the Upamshu manner. Manasik is for second initiation mantras, dear devotees. So these are the types of Japa that we perform. Now, Dear devotees, Hari Bhakti Vilas makes a very surprising statement. We might have heard loud chanting is better. How many of us have heard loud chanting is better? Yes, all of us have heard. But the Hari Bhakti Vilas makes a surprising statement at this point of time. Here is the statement made by the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Please repeat after me. Shreyan syaduttarottarah. Uttarah. Latter types of chanting are better than the former ones. Which means, Hari Bhakti Vilas is saying, Upamshu is better than which chanting? Vachik. And Manasika is better than Vachik as well as Upamshu. Now this might confuse some of us who have heard. Loud is better. Here we are hearing softer is better. But what we have heard till now is louder is better. So as soon as we arrive at a contradiction, no worries, we will try to resolve the contradiction, no problem. But let's keep it in mind that Hari Bhakti Vilas says softer is better than louder. Alright, keeping this in mind, we'll move ahead. Now dear devotees, amongst these three types of japa, our acharyas have said and recommended one type of japa very strongly. Which type of japa have the acharyas recommended very strongly, previous acharyas? Can anybody take a guess? Upamshu. Those of you who are saying Upamshu, yeah, you are correct. Because Sri Sanatan Goswami says something in the commentary. I will read Sri Sanatan Goswami's commentary and I will translate it. He says, Vachika, Upamshu, Manasika, Bhedena. We had three divisions. What are the three divisions? Vachika, Upamshu, Manasika. Trividhasya japasya madhye. In these three types of japa, Ishad Oshtha Chalanena. Which japa has soft utterance, dear devotees? Upamshu. He says, Shanair Uchcharana Upamshu Japo Atra Grahya. Actually, traditionally, Upamshu Japa is Japa which has been traditionally defined in Shastra. Now, question arises, are the remaining two not Japa? They are. Then Sri Sanatan Goswami says, Vachikasya Kirtan Antargatatvat. Vachika Japa is also Japa, but it is mixed with the limb of Kirtan. I hope you are able to understand, devotees. Vachika Japa is also Japa, but that is Japa mixed with which limb? Kirtan. Manasikasya cha smaranatmakatvat. Manasika Japa is also Japa, but Manasika Japa is mixed with another limb. Which limb is it mixed with? Smaran. So Vachika Japa is Japa mixed with Kirtan. Manasika Japa is Japa mixed with Smaran. Therefore, if there is any Japa which is not mixed with Kirtan or Smaran, only one category remains, and which category is that? Upamshu Japa. When I say mixed, I am not meaning impure. Dear devotees, mixed doesn't mean impure here. All Japa are pure. There is nothing impure here. But Vachika Japa means Kirtan has also entered into the Japa. And Mansika Japa means Smaran has also entered into the Japa. Therefore, the Acharyas say, if there is any Japa which is free from Kirtan and Smaran, then that is Upamshu Japa. That is the recommendation given by the previous Acharyas. Now, dear devotees, the Acharyas compare Japa and Kirtan. Although these two terms are often translated as chanting, the Acharyas compare these two terms. First comparison is in the Prema Vivarta of Sri Jagadananda Pandit. This literature was published by Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. This is what it says. Please repeat after me. Laghu chare japa hai, Uchchare kirtana. Very easy to understand for those who understand little Bengali. Laghu uchchare japa hai. Soft utterance becomes known as what? Japa. Uchchare and audible utterance becomes known as what? Kirtan. Very simple. So soft utterance is japa, audible utterance is kirtan. Now dear devotees, when it comes to kirtan, you will find a completely opposite instruction. Please repeat after me. Chaitanya Bhagavat says, Uchchai shatagunam bhaved. Louder is 100 times better. Oh, earlier we heard what is better? Softer. Now we are hearing what is better? Louder. Dear devotees, these were two instructions for two different limbs of bhakti. Softer is better when it comes to japa. Louder is better when it comes to kirtan. So I hope the difference is clarified. Because many times we are thinking, oh, I will chant on my beads so that others will benefit. Now, if the intention is to benefit others, our japa is getting mixed with another limb. Which limb is it getting mixed with? Kirtan. If the intention is to benefit oneself, then will one chant loudly or softly so that only oneself can hear? Softly. It's very important. The intention is what matters at this point of time. So loud is for benefiting others. It automatically becomes known as japa mixed with kirtan. Soft is for self-benefit, dear devotees. Another confirmation in the Chaitanya Bhagavat itself. Japile Shri Krishna Nama आपन से तरे उच्च संकीर्तने पर उपकार करे. Japile Shri Krishna Nam, when one performs japa of Krishna Nam, आपन से तरे, one delivers oneself, and उच्च संकीर्तने, loud sankirtan, paraopkar kare. We know what is the meaning of paraopkar. Yes, what is the meaning of paraopkar, dear devotees? Benefiting others. So by loud kirtan one benefits others, whereas by chanting japa one benefits mainly whom? One's own self. This distinction should be clear in our minds, that this is the shastric distinction between the terms japa and kirtan. When we sit down for performing japa, Shastra expects that we are sitting down for benefiting oneself. When we go for kirtan, Shastra expects that we are going not for our personal benefit, but we are going for the benefit of all others in the world. Dear devotees, this distinction between japa and kirtan has been maintained. Question arises, which type of japa does Srila Prabhupada like? Does Srila Prabhupada like loud japa, vachik japa, or does Srila Prabhupada like soft japa, upamshu japa? To take that into consideration is also very important for us who are members of his society. So I am specifying a memory of Srila Prabhupada. This is from a biography named You Cannot Leave Boston. This is by Sri Satsvarup Maharaj. When he was staying with Srila Prabhupada, he wrote a biography called You Cannot Leave Boston. In this biography, he has specified something. Prabhuji, kindly read what he specifies.
In order to hear the holy name distinctly, the devotees would have to vibrate some sound. In his purport to Adi 1732, Prabhupada writes that chanting is simple, but it has to be taken seriously. He mentions how the lips should move and we should hear our own sound vibration. Prabhupada used the word silent to indicate soft. He did say, however, that loud or soft, our chanting should not disturb the spiritual master. Prabhupada became annoyed on occasion with his servants, secretaries and other devotees for chanting too loudly when he was trying to work. We can chant, we have to learn to be simultaneously attentive and considerate toward others.
Yes. So it's very important. When Srila Prabhupada was himself present at night, he used to do his translation work. So sometimes a personal servant would get up and start chanting loudly, thinking Prabhupada should also hear. If I am chanting loudly, not only should I benefit, but why not also give the benefit to my spiritual master? So they would start chanting loudly, and then it would disturb Srila Prabhupada, and then Srila Prabhupada would come and correct that particular disciple. So Srila Prabhupada often wanted disciples to chant softly. Softly means we should be able to hear ourselves. Now some of us may have gotten an instruction from our spiritual masters to chant audibly, loudly, but we should take care that this chanting should not disturb the chanting of other devotees. Dear devotees, others are also sitting with us for hearing whose voice? Our voice or their voice? Their own voice. If the other person is sitting for hearing my voice, then the other person doesn't, he just needs to flip the beads because he is hearing my voice. So I will chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, and the other person will flip the beads happily. What is the need for him to chant if he is supposed to hear my voice? Japa means he is supposed to hear his or her own voice. That is the meaning of japa, and Srila Prabhupada clarified this on several occasions. So dear devotees, this is what Japa is. Now we move to the second limb, and the second limb is kirtan. Sri Rupa Goswami defines kirtan in a very elegant manner in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Kindly repeat after me, dear devotees. Nam Leela Gunadinam Uchchair Bhasha tu Kirtanam. Uchchair Bhasha, audible glorification of what? Nama. What does Nam mean? Names. Leela. What does Leela mean? Pastimes. Guna. Guna means qualities. Adi. Adis, etc. Associates, characteristics, etc. of the Supreme Lord. So any audible glorification of name, form, qualities, pastimes, associates, etc. of the Supreme Lord becomes known as what? Kirtan. Till today, some of us may be under the impression that only chanting Nama is Kirtan. But Srila Rupa Goswami says not only chanting Nama, but also chanting, glorifying the form, the qualities, the pastimes, etc. of the Lord is also known as what, dear devotees? Kirtan. So giving a Srimad Bhagavatam class is also what? Kirtan. Distributing a book and telling the other person about Shri Krishna is also what, dear devotees? Kirtan. All of this is included within the umbrella of Shri Krishna Kirtan. So we should broaden our scope of understanding what is Kirtan, because Kirtan not only means Nam Kirtan, Kirtan also means Lila Kirtan, Guna Kirtan, Rupa Kirtan. Many types of Kirtan are there, defined in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So this is the definition of Kirtan. In Kali Yuga, what is the Yuga Dharma, dear devotees? Harinam Sankirtan, and also Kirtan, any Kirtan in general, because many verses simply say Kirtan and many verses say Nam Sankirtan. So in general, any Kirtan, and specifically Nam Kirtan, is the Yuga Dharma of the age of Kali. So when a person is giving a Bhagavatam class in the morning, please know that they are performing the Yuga Dharma by glorifying the Supreme Lord. When a person is distributing a book to somebody else and telling the other person about Shri Krishna, please know that they are performing Yuga Dharma. Yuga Dharma doesn't start only by putting one's hands in the bead bag. Yuga Dharma is 24 hours, dear devotees. Glorification of Shri Krishna is Yuga Dharma. So many times we are thinking our Yuga Dharma begins only when we put our hands in the bead bag. So that is alright, but Yuga Dharma also is in any sort of glorification of Shri Krishna. So this is the translation. The audible glorification of the name, pastimes, qualities, etc. of Bhagavan is known as Kirtanam. Now what is the difference between Kirtan and Sankirtan, dear devotees? Together. Okay, wonderful. So this answer is exactly in line with the previous acharyas. Sri Jiva Goswami defines what is the difference between Kirtan and Sankirtan in the Bhakti Sandarbha. Please repeat after me. Bahubhir Militva Kirtanam Sankirtanam Iti Uchyate. Bahubhir Militva Kirtanam. When many people get together and perform Kirtan, that becomes known as what, dear devotees? Sankirtan. Now Bahubhir is plural case. In Sanskrit, plural case begins with how many people? 2 people or 3 people?
More than 2.
Yes, more than 2. 3 people is the minimum required. In English language, plural begins with 2 people. In Sanskrit language, there is a dual case, singular case, dual case and plural case. Sri Jiva Goswami here has used plural case in Bahubhi, which means he is saying that minimum how many people should be there for calling it Sankirtan? 3 people should be there. So we also analyze the cases on the basis of grammar. So Bahubhir is plural case. So minimum 3 people should be there and all of them should participate in the glorification. Sometimes you go and you chant. How many of you have gone to a program where you were invited as the speaker and you start singing Harinam and you sing the entire mantra and you are expecting people to chant? Nobody chants. How many of you have gone through this embarrassment? I have gone through many times, dear devotee. Huh? And then your mind feels, wake up, dead people, wake up. You are supposed to chant after me. It's not a performance. It is kirtan. You are supposed to chant after me. It is call and response. I am not chanting to the walls. So this is what one feels at that point of time. Dear devotees, when we are sitting in any kirtan, it is our collective responsibility to glorify Shri Krishna. The responsibility is not only on the person who is poor person who has been given the harmonium. Alright? The responsibility is on all of us to collectively glorify Shri Krishna. And is softer better or louder better in kirtan? Louder. So as loud as possible we should sing. You see, sing without any hesitation. Your voice is not as bad as mine. I croak like a frog. Still I sing. Still I sing, dear devotees. I sing these verses. And therefore definitely, dear devotees, you should also sing as loudly as possible. The singer gets a lot of enthusiasm when the people who are in the audience, they chant loudly. Therefore, we should do something next time when we are sitting in Harinam Kirtan. What should we do, dear devotees? Sing loudly, respond loudly. Very important for all of us. Uchchai shatagunam bhavet. Louder is 100 times better. So we all want that 100 times benefit, dear devotees. So that is why we should do that. So this is the translation. Kirtan performed with many individuals is known as Sankirtan. So this is basic definition of Japa, basic definition of Kirtan, basic definition of Sankirtan, and the minor differences that are there between these terms. Now there is one limb of bhakti which remains. Which limb remains, dear devotees? Smaran. Now this limb is often neglected limb of many individuals in their devotional practice. Srila Prabhupada always used to say, and this is a famous phrase, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. This phrase is a literal translation of Sri Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Smartavyah Satatam Vishnur, Vismartavyo na Jatuchit. Always remember Vishnu, never forget Vishnu. Question arises, isn't it sufficient simply to say always remember Krishna? Why to add the second part of the statement, never forget Krishna? If I simply say, Prabhu, always remember Krishna, doesn't it cover never forget Krishna? Obviously it covers. Why do we have to separately say never forget Krishna?
Because we tend to forget all the time.
Huh?
We tend to forget all the time.
We tend to, but I have said always remember. So I have said, given a positive statement, always remember. Why do I need to say negatively also, never forget? Okay, what we do and what we are not supposed to do. Okay, that's a good thing. We are moving in the correct direction with this answer. Prabhu, would you like to say something?
People are not so much intelligent.
People don't have much intelligence, so they need to be told twice. Once in the positive way, once in the negative way. That's a good answer. So Sri Jiva Goswami in his commentary on Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu specifies something. I will give a simple explanation of what he has said. Dear devotees, sometimes students go to a classroom and teacher comes and says, tomorrow is annual sports day, a very important day. Tomorrow everyone has to remain present. Tomorrow nobody will remain absent. Alright? So tomorrow everyone has to remain present. The indication is that by remaining present you will get good marks. Tomorrow nobody should remain absent. There is a warning in that. If you remain absent, then you will be listed in the bad books of the teacher. So always remember Krishna. Sri Jiva Goswami says this will attract all auspiciousness in our lives. And never forget Krishna is to warn us that by forgetting Krishna, all inauspiciousness is attracted in our lives. So in order to convey both these meanings, the same statement is specified positively as well as negatively. Now smaran, dear devotees, is not of one type. Smaran is of 5 types. Now somebody may say, so much confusion in the very beginning. Why is smaran not of one type? Because these 5 types are progressive. The term smaran in general is very easy to understand. Smaran means any remembrance. Dear devotees, but smaran is not only remembrance. Smaran is reminiscence. Dear devotees, can anybody translate for me in English what is the meaning of reminiscence? Yes, Prabhu.
You can say meditates on what you're hearing.
Okay. Meditation. Recollection. Okay. We are getting close. Yes. What is reminiscence?
Remembering.
Rumination. You are giving me another term. I want simplification. Remembering something that was forgotten, that is remembrance. Wonderful. Your name? Irina. Irina got the correct answer. Thank you. Dear devotees, please repeat after me. Remembrance with rasa, with flavor, is reminiscence. How many of you want to reminisce something right now? Would you like to reminisce something right now? Alright? From your lives. Alright? So, let me take you back to your childhood. Dear devotees, do you remember your childhood, all of you going to school? Do you remember writing exams, dear devotees? Huh? Can you see yourself writing exams in your childhood? Huh? Can you see yourself writing the final exam before summer vacations? Jai. Shri Shri Gaunitai ki jai. Shri Shri Rukmini Dwarkadhish ki jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maya ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So dear devotees, let me take you back again to your childhood. Do you remember writing that final answer in the final exam? Just before the summer vacation. Please see yourself writing the final answer of the final exam paper just before the summer vacations are about to begin. What do you feel in your heart? Excitement. And then after you have written your final answer and the exams are over, do you see yourself coming back to your home and throwing your bag somewhere where it cannot be found for 2 months? All of you are remembering, but in this remembrance something is added. What is added, dear devotees? Some flavor is added. This remembrance with flavor is called reminiscence, dear devotees. So smaran is not simply mechanical remembrance. Smaran is remembrance with some flavor added to it. Sneha samyukta, with some flavor added to it. So dear devotees, Sri Jiva Goswami defines 5 levels of smaran. Let's see. Prabhu, what time I have? Till what? I can continue? Alright. Level 1 of smaran. Please repeat after me. Sri Jiva Goswami says, Yat kinchit anusandhanam smaranam. Sri Jiva Goswami says, easiest thing to do is Yat kinchit anusandhanam. Wherever you are sitting, whatever easily comes to your mind about Shri Krishna without putting much effort. That is level 1 remembrance. And what is it technically called, dear devotees? Smaran. So whatever you can easily remember without putting too much strain on yourself, that is level 1 remembrance, that is smaranam, dear devotees. Now this may get broken often. You may not be able to remember for a long time. Doesn't matter. Begin with something. Begin. Read the Krishna book at night before taking rest. Remember what we can easily remember for 5 minutes. This will be level 1, dear devotees. This is known as smaranam. Alright. Now, Sri Jiva Goswami says, if you want to progress to the next level, then you will have to put some effort. Level 2. Please repeat after me. Sarvatas chittamakrishya samanyakarena manodharanam dharana. Level 2. Sarvatas chittam akrishya. You pull your consciousness from all directions, from all distractions, remove all distractions and put effort to remember Shri Krishna. Now your effort has begun. You are on level 2. And this level 2 has a technical name. What is the technical name, dear devotees? Dharana. Alright. Now, beyond this, you can progress to level 3. Please repeat after me. Visheshato Rupadi Vichintanam Dhyanam Now specifically focusing on any one form, quality, pastime of Shri Krishna and removing all distractions and specifically focusing on one particular quality or one particular form is the next level of remembrance. And what is the technical name, dear devotees? Dhyana. Level 4. Now your effort is not so much required, the remembrance starts coming back automatically. Since you are practiced in it, it starts coming back automatically. So Sri Jiva Goswami says, please repeat after me. Amrita dharavat avichinnam tad dhruvanusmriti. Amrita dharavat, like a stream of nectar. How many of us have seen a stream of nectar? I mean, not seen. So I'll give a parallel. Taila dharavat, like a stream of thick oil. How many of us have seen a stream of thick oil? Yes. What is the characteristic of a stream of thick oil? It is unbroken. So Sri Jiva Goswami says, avichinnam, unbroken, like a stream of nectar. So like a stream of nectar, we have not seen nectar, but at least we have seen oil. So like a stream of thick oil, unbroken, it comes to you naturally. That is level 4. Dhruv anusmriti. And level 5, Sri Jiva Goswami defines, please repeat after me. Dhyeya matra spuranam samadhiriti. Final level is Dhyeya matra spuranam. Only Krishna and Krishna's associates remain in the consciousness. Nothing of the material world remains in your consciousness. Only Shri Krishna, Krishna's associates, Krishna's abode remains in one's consciousness, nothing else. Dhyeya matra. And this is the final level of remembrance. And what is the technical name, dear devotees? Samadhi. A devotee is supposed to quit his or her body on which of these 5 stages to attain perfection? Samadhi. Because Shri Krishna, what is the condition of perfection that Shri Krishna has specified in the Bhagavad Gita? Anta kalecha mam eva smaran muktva kalevaram. Anta kalecha mam eva. What is the meaning of eva? Exclusively. Only me you have to remember. Because some people are thinking, at the moment of death I will remember Krishna somewhere in the corner of my mind. And there can also be a Tesla car and I will attain perfection. So that is not how perfection will be attained. In order to attain perfection, there has to be complete focus on only one entity at the moment of death. And that is Shri Krishna. And that happens at which stage, dear devotees? Samadhi. Question is, has Srila Prabhupada given to us these 5 stages anywhere? Srila Jiva Goswami specified. Did Srila Prabhupada ever specify that we should do these 5 stages?
Yeah. Nectar of instruction.
Wonderful. So, in the nectar of instruction, nectar of instruction, Srila Prabhupada specifies these 5 stages, and I will specify these 5 stages. We will read directly from nectar of instruction of Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhuji, you can kindly read from this, when one attains this stage. Can you?
Yeah, when one attains this stage, he becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha.
Okay.
When one is able to chant in ecstasy, he attains the stage of smaranavastha, the stage of remembering.
Okay, so a devotee gradually attains a stage. Which stage does a devotee attain? Smaran avastha. This is from Nectar of Instruction, verse 8 purport. So I am giving the reference here. Those of you who want to look it up. Nectar of Instruction, verse 8 purport. Alright, Prabhu. Now Prabhupada gives 5 terms. Prabhu, kindly read the 5 terms. What are the 5 terms?
Recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance and trance are the 5 terms of progressive Krishna Smarana.
Oh, do we see some correlation here? Of course there is correlation. So Srila Prabhupada has understood the 5 terms that were originally mentioned by whom, dear devotees? Sri Jiva Goswami in the Bhakti Sandarbha. Having understood these 5 terms, Srila Prabhupada has given them to us in simple English language in the purport to Nectar of Instruction. Now Srila Jiva Goswami's term for level 1 was smaran. How does Srila Prabhupada translate smaran? Recollection. Srila Jiva Goswami's term for level 2 was dharana. How does Prabhupada translate it?
Absorption.
Srila Jiva Goswami's term for level 3 was dhyan. How does Srila Prabhupada translate it?
Meditation.
Srila Jiva Goswami's term for fourth was Dhruvanusmriti. And how does Prabhupada translate it?
Constant
remembrance. And Srila Jiva Goswami's fifth term was Samadhi. What does Prabhupada say? Trance. So these are exactly based on the 5 terms that were given to us by the previous Acharya, specifically Srila Jiva Goswami in the Bhakti Sandarbha. Now Srila Prabhupada gives the definition of these 5 also. Let us read how these 5 are defined by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhu, kindly read.
At first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted.
At intervals.
At
Sorry to interrupt you, Prabhu. At first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted. This is which stage, dear devotees? Stage 1. Smaran. Okay, please read.
But later, remembrance proceeds uninterrupted.
This is which stage, dear devotees? Stage 2. Alright, please move ahead.
When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated and is called meditation.
This is which stage, dear devotees? Stage 3. Alright, let's move ahead.
When meditation expands and becomes constant, it is called anusmriti.
Now he directly used the term Dhruvanusmriti. So this is which term, which level, dear devotees? Level 4. And please read ahead.
By uninterrupted and unceasing anusmriti, one enters the stage of samadhi or spiritual trance.
Directly Prabhupada is using the terms that Sri Jiva Goswami had used in the Bhakti Sandarbha. So these are very much given by Srila Prabhupada himself in the purport to Nectar of Instruction. And all devotees who wish to advance on the path of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness should take their Krishna consciousness, their smaran very, very seriously by taking these words of Srila Prabhupada seriously, that the path to progress goes through the process of smaran avastha. Prabhuji, please tell me what happens after trance. Please read.
After smarana dasha or samadhi has fully developed, the soul comes to understand his original constitutional position. At that time, he can perfectly and clearly understand his eternal relationship with Krishna, that is called Sampati Dasha, or the perfected life.
So anybody who perfects samadhi attains the final perfection of human form of life, dear devotees. Therefore I said very clearly, I could have spoken simply on Japa and kirtan, but there is one important limb of our Krishna bhakti which requires attention, especially for devotees who have been practicing since a certain number of years. And this should never be neglected, and this is smarana. And this is right there, not only in the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, it is also there in the teachings of the previous acharyas. I have drawn a straight line through the teachings of Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas here. So all of you know that there is ek vakyata, one line of thought between Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas in this regard. There is no doubt in Srila Prabhupada's mind that perfection happens through perfecting smaran. And there is no doubt in the previous acharya's mind that perfection happens through perfecting one's smaran. So this is what is specified here by Srila Prabhupada. So dear devotees, these are 3 limbs of our devotional service: Japa, Kirtan and Smaran. Alright, with this I would like to pause my speech so that I can hear some thoughts and reflections and questions from you. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit vidvam saha purayantu tat. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit tad guroreva me nahi. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit. It is possible that I might have made some mistakes while giving the presentation. If I have made any mistakes, vidvam saha, you are learned devotees, purayantu tat. You kindly correct any mistakes. But yadatra saushthavam kinchit. If there is anything nice in the presentation, please remember tad guroreva. It belongs to my Guru Janas. My Diksha Guru, my Shiksha Guru, all the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, all the God brothers of Srila Prabhupada, all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas from all families of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that were present in the past, that are present in the present, and that will be there in the future, including all of you are also my Gurus. So it belongs to you. May nahi. It doesn't belong to me. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So, Prabhu, Shamchandra Prabhu, you will tell me when to stop Q&A.
Yeah, sure.
All right?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the wonderful, wonderful class. I have a question. So with the different ways of chanting japa, to me it seems like the stages, like me as a neophyte, I chant a little louder because I feel my mind is loud, and if it goes off track into its own way, I feel at some point I hear words and they like wake me up in a way.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm actually chanting right
Right.
now. So I feel like for me it's beneficial actually do it a little louder, not for the sake of others, but for the sake of mine.
Okay. Oh, very nice. So this is your doubt?
Yeah, so like what do you have to say about
All right.
that? Yeah.
So often I have heard devotees who say that I am beginning on the path of bhakti. For me right now chanting loudly is a way of keeping my mind focused on the japa. So this is good for if when we are beginning. But slowly we have to go into certain depth of japa. Because if we continue like this, then japa for us becomes another word for alarm clock. So it's japa, it's not supposed to be an alarm clock, like once I'm about to sleep, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Hare. So might as well keep an alarm clock. But that is japa. Finally, why are we chanting loudly? So that we can hear through our ears. But finally it's not only supposed to reach the ears, it is also supposed to reach a third sense organ. And which sense organ is that? Mind. So as long as the mind is not focused on the innate meaning of the mantra, O Krishna, O energy of Krishna, please accept me in your service. Till that point of time it's just between the mouth and the ear. And this is good for beginning. And it's very nice if it is helping you in the beginning. But after some time you may want to reconsider and try to deepen relationship with your japa. So I hope this satisfies your query.
Yeah, I feel like with the progression of my mind getting quieter.
Yeah, it will be better.
Yeah.
All right?
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, thank you for such a wonderful presentation. My question is in regards to kirtan. What about dancing? Like, where dancing fits into kirtan? So it's important as chanting, or dancing can be like not so important, because sometimes we are leading kirtan and the devotees are repeating the mantra, but not too much dancing. But when there is dancing, it becomes more joyful, more ecstatic. So what is your opinion?
Actually, nritya or dancing is one of the 64 limbs of bhakti. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it has been included as a separate limb. Now, cooking a sabji is good, but when you add spices to it, it becomes better. Right? So, kirtan, sankirtan in itself is good. When you add some other limbs of bhakti to it, it becomes much more better. So, in Harinam Sankirtan, when you add another limb of bhakti, which is dancing, so it becomes much more attractive for Bhagwan as well as for the devotees. So always welcome, because dancing does not interfere with Sankirtan. The one thing is, dancing complements Sankirtan, does not interfere or block Sankirtan. So any limb of bhakti which facilitates Sankirtan and does not block Sankirtan is more than welcome. So this is another limb of bhakti described in Bhakti Rasamrita. It's one of the 64 limbs of bhakti, dancing in front of Sri Krishna. So I hope that satisfies your query, right? Yes. Yeah.
So I know you mentioned, thank you for the wonderful lecture. I know you mentioned that chanting softly helps. My question is more towards, so when you're chanting and I sit in front of my altar at home and I'm looking at the deity and I'm trying to focus on deity's lotus feet, when your mind goes off of it sometimes, how do you bring it back and try to concentrate on, or what should you be concentrating, like pastimes of Krishna or his lotus feet in front of you? What are some of the other advice that you can give? Try to get your mind back in concentration.
So many times devotees think, when I am chanting, what should I focus my mind upon? Some pastime of Krishna or the lotus feet of the deity? What should I focus? Actually, when devotees ask this question, it means that during chanting they are performing smaran.
Okay.
Actually, during chanting one is supposed to mainly do one thing: hear and focus on the sound vibration. When we start focusing on pastimes, etc., our attention is slowly going away from hearing the name and it is going into smaran. Smaran is a very good limb of bhakti. But why mix it into japa? We can have a separate time for smaran. When we have dedicated time for japa, we should give quality time to japa.
Okay.
And after japa is over, then we can give quality time to smaran. So when we are chanting japa, our attention should be ideally focused on hearing the sound vibration, and then there is something called as arthi bhavana. Arthi bhavana means a general meaning of the mantra should be flowing in the mind. What is the general meaning of Hare Krishna Mahamantra that you are aware of? O Krishna, O energy of Krishna, please engage me in your service. Now you don't have to remember with every word Hare Krishna. No, a general feeling of surrender should be in the mind, arthi bhavana, and the focus should be on hearing the sound vibration. So once this arthi bhavana, the innate meaning is flowing in the mind, and the focus is on the sound vibration, so Hari Bhakti Vilas says, Japa Sampatti Hetava. A lot of progress in Japa can be made in this way.
Yeah.
And then, Japa Shrantaha Punar Dhyayet, Dhyana Shrantaha Punar Japet. Once you are done with Japa, then meditate. And once you are done with meditation, then perform Japa. So, keep the two
separate.
Okay. It may happen. For advanced devotees, it may happen. Sometimes when they are chanting Japa, some remembrance comes naturally. They may be on the stage of Dhruvanusmriti, fourth stage. Some remembrance starts coming naturally. When it is happening naturally, organically, without any external effort, then don't try to suppress it.
Okay.
Alright? But when it is not happening naturally, organically and without any effort, don't try to force it.
Okay.
Alright? So both things should be kept in mind.
And just the timing of it, what do you suggest?
Timing for what?
Doing your japa.
Japa is, the Hari Bhakti Vilas says Japa is best done before afternoon.
Okay.
So best done till afternoon, it says. In the morning, the ideal recommended time is in the early hours of the morning. But in the morning, first thing which we do is kirtan. First thing that we are supposed to do in the morning is kirtan. Devotees get together, and what is the first thing that devotees do in the morning? Mangal Arti. Mangal Arti is sung softly or loudly? Loudly. So the first thing that devotees do at the beginning of the day is they are supposed to do kirtan. And then they sing Hare Krishna in kirtan. Then you sit down and perform your japa. Alright? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also used to do that. Yes. Thank you. Prabhuji, yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice, very clear. It's helping me a lot. So I was just seeing also that sometimes in many temples they play Prabhupada tape. And many devotees will think, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
They feel it's a compliment to their chanting, inspire me to them. But actually, one time, Giriraj Maharaj told me, he said that Srila Prabhupada told one devotee, do not listen to my tape, listen to your own chanting. Just to compliment what you're saying.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
And that helps a lot. Now I have a question that sometimes I see in devotees too and myself. A couple times I thought, I'm engaging all my senses. I'm touching tulsi beads. I'm hearing the I'm hearing the holy name. That's true. I'm seeing the picture of Krishna. I might say I taste, but I don't know about the taste. So all my senses are engaged. And I might concoct, or I might think, this actually is like, you feel good about it.
Yeah.
But also it can be a distraction again. So now I'm in a conflict now.
Yeah.
So
you start flowing with the waves of happiness that come along with it. Yeah.
Right. Secondly, Prabhu, some devotees feel very comfortable, or also they say that when they are looking at a picture and they're chanting, or sometimes even reading something, that helps them. I don't know. It might be an individual thing, but that can be a distraction too.
Yeah. So many times, as I said, some devotees want their mind so engaged during japa that they end up doing smaran, more of smaran. There is nothing wrong in mixing smaran with japa, because Srila Sanatan Goswami said that is what Mansika Japa is. But Manasika Japa specifically is to focus on the syllables. Here the devotee is not focusing on the syllables of the mantra. Here the devotee has started reading Krishna book or some other pastimes. Now this is where the devotee has entered into a slightly different territory. And the acharyas will say, "Arey, where have you come right now? Huh? You originally began with japa and suddenly you ended up in swadhyay, self-study of scriptures." So there are 5 limbs: sadhu, sangha, nama, kirtan, bhagavat, shravan, mathuravas. So while performing japa, one is doing bhagavat, reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, something like that. So the acharyas may not recommend it because japa was meant for focus on the sound vibration. Mano madhye sthito mantro. In the mind, the mantra was supposed to be there. And mantra madhye sthitam mana. And the mind in the mantra and mantra in the mind. This was ideal japa. So somebody might have drifted from that ideal condition, but they should consult with their Guru Janas. If the Guru Janas, approve for some exceptional case, it may be okay. But generally, the acharyas may not approve it. That is what I would like to say.
Prabhu, I have just one last.
Yourself, and then we'll go to Archita.
Yeah. There was just one last one in regards to the difference between kirtan and japa. And then you said, first thing we do in Mongol Arti is chanting loud.
Yeah.
So now that's just one observation that I have. Also, Krishna is a person, when you wake up in the morning, you don't really want someone too loud.
Too loud, yeah.
So the difference between chanting enthusiastically and getting kartals that can make you deaf, or kartals that can disturb many other people, can you also agree in that?
Yeah.
Because people misread this.
The singing should be clear enough. Instead, people bang the instruments loud. So Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur said, Shankha baje, ghanta baje, madhur, madhur, madhur baje.
Madhur.
So that we have forgotten madhur. Instead, Shankha baje, ghanta baje, karkash, karkash, karkash baje. And it becomes so loud that the poor singer's voice is drowned in the noise of the kartal and mridanga. So the instrument should never be louder than the person who is singing, and therefore the singer's voice should be the loudest voice in the assembly. Of course, in morning we keep the volume low also because we don't want to disturb our neighbors. But another reason is that Krishna also likes madhur, madhur, madhur.
Right.
And the instrument should be kept like that. Is the pramana. Shankha baje, ghanta baje, madhur, madhur, madhur baje.
Sometimes I tell devotees, we're not trying to wake up Kumbhakarna.
Yeah.
Kumbhakarna. It's Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for another nice presentation.
Thank you.
I feel it necessary to say something about the Prabhupada tape, because this is a divisive point between devotees, but we have to understand we're all individuals first of all. Sometimes you have to adjust your practice for your benefit and don't try to adjust others.
Right.
And when it comes to the chanting of japa, if we can chant with other devotees in the room chanting, why not chant with Prabhupada also chanting?
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Sure.
Certainly the volume may have to be adjusted, but you can never match everyone's taste.
Right.
So therefore you may have to adjust your position, your situation to match your taste and not try to adjust others always, which is what we do a lot in Kali Yuga.
Right.
We always want to adjust other people, tell them where to stand, where to sit, how to talk, where to look, where not to look, and not adjust ourselves.
Right.
So regarding japa, I spent a lot of time with Mukunda Maharaj, and he's the one who told me this story. Not a story, it's a fact. One devotee had to go for some dental work. So he asked another devotee to accompany him. This was in London. And Prabhupada was there at the time. So they went to the dental office, and while the devotee was waiting, he was a little nervous, so he was chanting loud, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So the devotee was telling him, don't disturb the other patients here, keep it down. So they got into an argument. Prabhupada said I should chant loud. No. So when they went back to the manor, they went to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada heard the story patiently, and then he said, one should chant japa loud enough to hear oneself, but not so loud that you disturb others.
Yes.
So it's the same thing with Prabhupada's tape.
Yeah.
It can be played, not so loud that it's a disturbance, obviously, but certainly not so soft that you can't even hear it. Some devotees chant japa so soft they themselves can't hear themselves. That's not japa. Prabhupada said you should chant so that you hear yourself. Hare Krishna. When you chant Hare Krishna, you yourself should hear yourself. If you're chanting so softly that you don't hear yourself, then that's not japa, really.
That's not japa.
That's not japa.
Thank you.
Hare
So
Krishna.
thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for that reflection. I would like to say something about chanting with the tape, and if it helps devotees to focus upon their own voice in the beginning, devotees can take help of a tape also, because sometimes the tape helps you determine the speed with which you are supposed to chant. So if it helps the devotees in their practice of japa, for every devotee, and a devotee can decide for themselves. But the siddhanta is very clear that while chanting japa, one has to hear one's own voice. Otherwise, tomorrow I will become lazy. There are YouTube videos of Srila Prabhupada chanting with 16 into 108. Believe me, there are videos on YouTube like that. And tomorrow I can sit in front of YouTube and I don't have to say a word. And Prabhupada is chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare, and I flip the bead. Prabhupada Hare Krishna, Krishna, I flip another bead. I just have to sit in front of the screen and flip 16 rounds like that. So I understand that this concern is very valid, and I accept this concern. So thank you for bringing this concern, that some devotees feel the need to chant with Srila Prabhupada's tape, and whosoever feels that need, they should definitely take help of the tape. And at the same time, Prabhuji's statement is also correct, that His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj was told by Srila Prabhupada that you are finally supposed to hear whose voice? Your own voice. So both concerns are valid, and let everybody decide what is good for them, because we have to ultimately think for ourselves. The thinking part we have to do, nobody else will do for us. So I hope this satisfies, Prabhu, what you had to say. All right, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Prabhu, in regards to kirtan, so we have the mridanga, we have kartalos, but what about when another instruments also will be, introduced, like drums or things like that? Is that recommended, or what is your opinion in regards to that?
So when other instruments are included, what happens is that Jai Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai, Shri Rukmini Dwarkadhish ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Sudarshan Jiv ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So yes, so when other instruments are included, if the other instruments complement the singing of the singer, then to a certain degree other instruments are also okay. And Srila Prabhupada on many occasions said that instruments can be used to complement. Sometimes some instruments drown the kirtan singer's voice. And let me give an example of one. This one is, there is an African drum which drowns the singer's voice. It's, what is it called? Djembe. Yeah. So it drowns the singer's voice. And I have seen, as soon as that djembe comes, people start dancing. Suddenly, people start dancing. It's good for dancing, but it's good also for drowning the singer's voice. The poor kirtan singer finds it difficult to match the volume of the djembe. So kirtan is supposed to be, the drums should be kept as long as it is not a drum which is drowning the kirtan singer's voice. Other instruments which are soft and complement the kirtan are good, but there is also one another danger. If we overdo it, it is said ati sarvatra varjayet. Overdose of anything is bad. If you eat too much sweets also, it's bad. But so if we keep adding instruments one after the other, slowly we are moving from kirtan to a performance. We don't know when we cross that border. So that it's important to remember that it is a kirtan and it is not a musical performance. So sometimes we gradually, unknowingly, we move from a kirtan into a musical performance. And as long as that is kept, that the main purpose was to help devotees focus on Sri Hari Nam. As long as that purpose is not missed, till that time any soft instruments which complement the singer's voice are in general recommended for kirtan. So that is what it is. I hope this answer satisfies you. But traditional kirtan is, actually traditional kirtan that Mahaprabhu used to do is mridanga, and instead of kartals they were preferring jhanj. Jhanj. The big wampers. Udilo aruna purab bhage, dvijamani gaura amani jage, bhakat samuha laiya sathe, gela nagar braje, tathai tathai bajal khol, ghana ghana tahe, jhajera roll. So ghana ghana jhaj. So they are playing that wampers previously. The wampers gives a very sweet sound for a loud kirtan, and it also gives the enthusiasm to dance. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time in morning, they used to play the wampers. Huh? Wampers, yeah. Yes.
Thank you. So to this similar point, I just wanted to bring question of like, is there any exception in which we actually can chant japa for someone else? And I'm specifically thinking about like a story of my god sister who has lots of health issues, and in the worst cases of her health, it's like her husband would flip the beats for her, or they would split, he would be chanting and she would be flipping the beats, and I just wonder if there's any way.
Yeah, so these are exceptional situations wherein somebody else is chanting and somebody is hearing. But this is japa which has moved in the direction of Shravan. Actually, the technical name of this is Shravan, hearing. So this is japa which has moved in the direction of Shravan, which is good for an exceptional case. But it cannot be generalized. So with the permission of the Guru, if this is done on an exceptional basis, then it is still okay, but it cannot be generalized as a practice. It is to be done for a person who is having some health issues with the permission of the Guru, and only for the exceptional cases. It cannot be generalized. So I hope that satisfies your query.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah. So Prabhu, will go to Prabhuji and we'll come back to you. Yeah.
Just to complement what you said about the instruments, Srila Prabhupada one time, I heard this from a senior devotee, he said that there was a kirtan going on, and Srila Prabhupada said, the mridanga should be lower than the lead singer.
Yes. The mridanga should be lower than the lead singer. Yes. All right. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
My question is it possible, it will be maybe available, your book, you want to write a book about?
Yeah, gradually.
Will be available
Yeah,
soon.
Yeah. Because I wrote about 30 articles on the subject matter of Japa, Kirtan and Smaran. And I showed them to the devotees, and the devotees were in general very acceptable to what Siddhantas were presented, because I also kept in mind the vision that Srila Prabhupada had for our society. And my aim is to bring one line of thought between Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas. So with that aim, I have written some articles. I have written around 27 or 28 articles. As soon as the series of articles is completed, I will try to publish in the form of a booklet, but first I will get it reviewed. Before publishing it, I will get it reviewed from devotees who are frequently discussing these subject matters. So.
And also, is it possible to include different questions,
yes,
and interesting questions,
yes,
answers?
Yes, question and answers. As I said this morning, it is the fifth limb of a complete explanation. So although question and answers will be unlimited, but I will try my best to include the most frequently asked questions. That will be included probably. Thank you.
Just one more question. This manas, this third one, japa, is for basically advanced devotees. So how advanced you have to be according it's like maybe a Shakti, Ruchi, or what stage you have to be to?
So actually previously the Guru would specify a certain number of rounds for Mansik Japa, but that is no longer done in ISKCON. So if a particular Guru specifies that you do one round, that is on an individual basis. So that it is recorded in Bhakti Ratnakar that Sri Haridas Thakur did 1/3 of his japa loud, 1/3 of his japa soft, 1/3 of his japa mansik. So this is recorded in the Bhakti Ratnakar. So Sri Haridas Thakur is already an example for chanting Hare Krishna in the mansik way. But in our society, the only mantras which are allowed in the mansik way are the second initiation mantras. So for any devotee to do that Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it will require some special permission from the guru of that particular devotee. Yeah. Prabhuji, you tell me when to stop. I'll continue all night. Huh? Okay. Okay.
Prabhu, in part of your presentation, you said that smaran should be done separate than japa. So that means that we should take some particular time during the day to do smaranam, like our daily practice.
Yes. It's important. Srila Prabhupada used to say, at night read Krishna book. What is the purpose of asking devotees to read Krishna book at night? Not simply to read and forget. It's to read and recollect. Recollection is stage 1 of smaran. So read and recollect. And gradually some with taste. So that is very important. It's coming from Srila Prabhupada also, it's coming from the previous acharyas. Some time we should spend in doing some recollection of Shri Krishna Leela. So that is the purpose with which Krishna book was written. If after reading the Krishna book we are meditating, we are not doing any meditation, and in our mind there is the impersonal Brahman, then what will we think at the moment of death? We need a strong culture of smaran, and I said samadhi is required at the final moment of death. Otherwise, in one small corner I'll think of Krishna, and then there is Tesla, and so many problems in my life, and this, I don't want to quit my body like this. So I have to come to the stage of samadhi.
Often is said that by practicing the process nicely, so the smaranam will come automatically.
Yeah, automatically.
So why should be done both? Like doing the process nicely, at the same time also take some time to just particularly do it.
Yes. Okay. Is that discipline should be cultivated. At least 5 minutes, is recommended that we sit down and remember, but don't mix it with your japa practice. Japa is separate. Keep japa separate. Remaining time you have for any other limb of bhakti. Recommended is take 5 minutes and do some smaran daily. Alright? Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.